I mean, you know me. I get really excited about Scripture. And I know you do too, and I'm not saying I'm unique in this, but I especially get uh, uniquely enthusiastic about Scripture whenever I see it fulfilled in front of me. One could say that that's on a regular basis, and it's just a matter of us recognizing that, so I concede that, I suppose. But I get really excited whenever I'm able to perceive that around me. So I have a story for you today that very much links with this idea of God's prevenient grace. It's that grace that goes before, that pulls us closer to Him. And I'll just read the passage first and then go into the actual illustration, which is a real live illustration of something that happened just a week ago. And I'm excited to share this with you. So Titus chapter 2 verse 11 says, "For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people." All people. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and live a self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age. So it goes on to talk about the character of God and what He provides for us through that hope and joy and all of that. Well, I want to tell you this story, and let's call this lady Samantha, okay, for privacy purposes. Samantha was raised in a Christian home, went to church all of her all of her life, but never actually gave her life to Jesus. It's one of those things that, she's good enough, and that's all that really matters, right? Well, Samantha lives in Indianapolis. Her family lives over near Columbus, Ohio, and they go to church. Her parents go to church on a regular basis, and her parents' church has a baptismal service coming up. Samantha just knew that baptism is important, and God calls us to be baptized and gives us the opportunity to express that faith. But she didn't really know all what baptism is about. So she asked her parents, "Could I come to your baptism service? In fact, can I talk to the pastor about being baptized?" Again, has never given her life to Christ. It just was one of those things she knew that she probably should do. Okay, there's some issue there, but let's move on, shall we? This lady Samantha started to feel this spiritual attack, like things were going wrong. She's deep depression, all of those kind of things. She went online and she Googled, and this was in the middle of the night, by the way. She Googled churches that are open 24 hours. And we see those kind of churches like on TV and in movies, but I don't know anyone's nearby that you can just walk in at midnight and someone will be there, like a priest or a pastor, to help you. Like, we got to get some sleep, right? So Samantha Googled this, and there was a church that popped up. I'm not going to name the church, but it's a church in the area. And this happened with a friend of mine that I work with, so it's his church. She Googled this, and his church popped up. It says, "Hey, this particular church open 24 hours a day." And here's the interesting part. It's not. It's just one of your typical churches that have your office hours and whatnot, and that's okay, They might have the occasional event towards the evening time, but usually those occasional events get off at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening. So at this point it was 10:30, maybe closer to 11. She Googled this, and this church popped up. So she decided she was going to drive over there, and she didn't know what she was going through, but she just had to have someone pray over her. Again, this church is not a 24-hour church, but she sees that the light is on at the church, middle of the night. She walks in because one of the doors happened to be unlocked, and found that this particular church happened to be having an overnight discipleship retreat at the church. She went and spoke with some of it was an overnighter there at the church. She spoke with one of the leaders. Leaders got a bunch of guys together. bunch of people together to pray over her. And during that time, in this long interaction they had with her, they led her to the Lord in a salvation prayer. She revealed to them that she had felt this attack, like, spiritual, mental, emotional attack, that she didn't know how to combat that, but she did also feel a pull that she needed someone to surround her and talk to her and pray with her. So the leaders were curious, like, why did she come here? And she said she Googled it, and this particular church said it was open 24 hours a day. And she didn't have it pulled up anymore. She just knew that this was the church. Well, they got to looking, and there was nowhere online that they could find that said that this church was 24 hours open. In fact, when they pulled up the church on Google, it said the specific office hours and different ministries and things like that. There was nowhere they could find. Somehow God had led her to that moment, to those people, in a time where it was actually rare for them to have any sort of overnighter. They only do this a couple times a year. So it just happened to be this particular moment. I think that there's only one way to explain that, and that is God and His prevenient grace. I don't know how else to explain it. God shows us through His grace that He cares for us and He wants us to get closer to Him. And our life is lived out of gratitude because He saved us. Well, wanted to share that story with you. I thought that was really neat. So she's going to be baptized here in the next couple of weeks. Actually, this coming week, I believe, is when she's going to be baptized. So please pray for Samantha, let's call her, and in her experience and growth in the Lord. Thanks.